And welcome to another episode of Pixelated Harmony, the voices behind video game music. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and safe new year. After a little bit of a hiatus, we are finally back, and I am super pumped to introduce you to our next guest, multi-award winning composer, music producer, and recording artist, Megan McDuffie. Megan, thank you so much for joining the show. How were your holidays? How have you been?
So glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Holidays were good. Yep. It was really nice to have a break. Got some family time in there too, which was its own blend of chaos and awesome. So, yeah, doing well. Hopefully your holidays were good also.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic. I feel like I was about to say, such are the holidays. It's always a mixture of happiness and chaos and, you know what I mean, this and that. So they can always be stressful times for a lot of folks, but we made it. We're here. It's 2026. We've got a great outlook. And again, you're going to be our first guest here for 2026. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to jump, right into it and just kind of get down to some of the questions here. I realize, and, a lot of times, especially during interviews, you can go back and like, oh, how'd you start and whatnot. I've already done some research. I know how you started. You love music. My question is, and I just want to touch on college just a little bit.
Sure.
Your major and minor, you minored in electronic music, and then your major was was it film composing?
Yeah, film scoring.
Yes. So tell me what, kind of drove you to major minor in those, and what was it that said, I think this is the route I want to take to start off.
Sure, yeah. It's funny that we start with college because I'm literally wearing my
Let's go
sweatshirt today. It was just coincidence, so I love that. I went into my undergrad knowing that obviously I was going to do a music major. Since I had been singing my whole life, it just made sense for me to start with the vocal major. And sophomore year, it kind of just wasn't quite what I wanted. It was very, very focused on classical and opera. And I did not see my life trajectory becoming an opera singer. So I was like, this is cool, but it's not quite the entire fit. And around the same time, I took a film music class. It was in a big lecture hall. We had to do a bunch of in-depth analyses of films and the score and why they work so well together, why they didn't work. And I had pretty much an epiphany during that class, like, holy crap, I have always listened to film soundtracks. Why didn't I put two and two together? Definitely want to pursue music for film. It made way more sense for me. So from that point on, I pivoted and started kind of doing the composition side of things instead of the vocal performance side of things. I went into school always planning on doing an electronic music minor, simply because I loved electronic music and I loved producing it. So that was actually one of the reasons that drew me to UC Santa Cruz in the first place, was that program. So yeah, that's how that happened.
So is with the electronic minor, is that something specific to UC Santa Cruz, or is that something that you see in other like music departments when you're going through the curriculum?
At the time, I'm going to date myself a little bit here. This would have been looking in the early 2000s at schools. Since then, I haven't looked at, core curriculums for other universities. But at the time, it seemed pretty unique, especially for a state school. There were definitely and still are private universities that, have very specialized music departments and music programs. But for a state college, this was a big win.
Yeah, that's huge. And then of course, afterwards, you went on to get your master's at Berkeley, I believe.
Yes, Berkeley College of Music.
Okay, yes. And that was in orchestration. So let me ask then, was that kind of like a natural flow going from, your undergrad and then getting into your graduate school and then going into like, or the focus being at orchestration. What was the choice behind that?
For me, it was very personal. It wasn't like UCSC was a feeder school for Berklee College of Music. I did my master's certification online, so I wasn't actually on the East Coast where the
Hmm.
school is physically located. That was because I was working at Apple at the time and trying to, balance life. Um, so for me, it was that I felt that I didn't get enough real world practice in orchestration, specifically for film and TV. I wanted way more in depth, hands on, boot camp style, focus on writing for orchestra and arrangements and literally knowing how to take any orchestral instrument and write sheet music for it that I could hand to a player and it would make sense to them. So, yeah, it was just for my own personal toolkit. I felt like I was just missing that final element to my education.
It's interesting that you say that because a lot of musicians that I've spoken with too, I feel like there's always some variation or we end up speaking about their toolkit, whether that be physical instruments, their voice, how they compose music. There's always that toolkit of things that you can use and that you gather as you go through life and go through different experiences that you then take and are able to use within your creations.
For
So it's
sure.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And speaking of which, of creations and whatnot, I know that there is so much really that we can go over that you've done, and it is extensive in TV, film, commercials, podcasts, freaking video games. Obviously, let's start with video games though. I
All
kind of
right.
wanted to touch on. I know that you've done a lot of work with Atari. Things like Centipede, Yars, all a huge collection. I want to know kind of what was that experience like, especially somebody that's like me. I'm a little older. Those are games that I played, music that is ingrained, in my head. So I kind of want to know what that experience was like for you, especially having some sort of idea of hearing that music before.
Yeah, so those classics that you mentioned, things like Centipede and Asteroids, they didn't really have soundtracks before. It was kind of, I mean, I don't want to diminish it in such a way, but it was kind of a collection of beeps and boops. um, Not, a soundtrack as we would consume a soundtrack nowadays. And I had never had an Atari growing up. Obviously, I was very, very familiar with Atari as a name, as a system.
Hmm.
I didn't get into video games until the N64. So Atari was like just barely before my time.
Hmm.
Um, but as far as working with them, they're fantastic. They reached out to me after hearing one of my other major projects, and they were like, "Hey, we really like your stuff. You want to, make some magic on our revamped classics?" And of course, I said yes, and it was a great partnership. Yeah, they basically started with Centipede. That was the first one I did, and each game in their Recharged series, which are the classics that they then revamped, they each kind of had a flavor that Atari wanted. So I think for Centipede, it was like 90s break, or not 90s breakbeat, that was later, but it was kind of like acid bass lines and sort of 90s and 80s flair for that one that they specifically wanted. And other than that, they kind of just gave me the flexibility to do what I wanted, which was amazing. That's the best kind of client, right? They were just like, here, this is kind of our direction, and go forth and make some tunes.
I love that, and you make a great point too, because a lot of those older games were just comprised of sounds. There was only so much that they could put, so you weren't able to do like full soundtracks and whatnot. Um,
Yeah.
you know, Going through and the fact that they were like, hey, have at it, go through it, do what you're feeling. Does that then spurn you to go in and like dive into the games and start playing them to get a better feel for like the atmosphere and what they're about?
So for those projects, Atari basically kind of gave me gameplay footage and some of the artwork direction, simple game design document to go off of, but I didn't actually get to play any of them until they were done and out.
Oh,
So
so you
for
didn't play
me,
till after.
didn't play till after. Yeah, it was cool. I had, like I said, for visuals, I had art and I had art style like direction and some gameplay footage that they had screen captured for me. But that's it. That's what I had to go on.
Interesting. And I know too, I mean, with the plethora of projects that you've done, do you ever, I mean, do you prefer a style like that or like going in kind of not really knowing other than just like here's some art direction, here's, you know, or here's some art, here's some direction in terms of what we're looking for and then have at it? Or do you find that being able to kind of get your hands on gives you maybe a more, or I shouldn't say more, I should say like maybe like a deeper connection to it?
For me, I actually kind of like that hazy middle ground where it's not completely open-ended, where they don't have any sort of direction because
Right.
that can lead to disappointment, like, oh, we didn't give you a direction, but that's not what we wanted. uh, Nor
Hmm.
is it super super strict where they're literally like, you have these four snares to choose from and you can only use these four snares.
Oof.
uh, so I like that middle ground where there is definitely a style direction and ideally some reference material, style of music, tracks that they like. A lot of clients will send me links to things to listen to. And
Hmm.
from there, I am like, okay, I have a very good idea of instrumentation, tempo, genre, at least. And
Hmm.
that space is where I find that I am most creative and also on brand for the client.
I love that. No, and just I mean, knowing your music and stuff like that, I feel like it fits so well into that style, that genre, and then of course, with it being a essentially a reboot of these older games into this generation, it fits so well. It's just a lot of fun, and I'm glad that it was a good experience for you and being able to work with such a classic company as Atari as they're coming back. We're seeing more and more from them, which I absolutely love. So I'm glad that was a great experience in terms of that. Is there, I don't know, I guess looking back, is there anything within, you know, the music that you created and just working on those games, is there anything that maybe you would look and say, maybe I'd change that or do something differently here?
It's been many years now since the beginning of that collection, 10 games
Right.
later. Uh, I think, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with what came out of it. Yeah, I dig it.
I love it. I love it. Let's move over to, obviously I have to talk about it. River City Girls, River City Girls 2, and then there was River City Girls 0 as well. You've gotten to work on the music of this, the entire series, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, that's gotta be really nice to be able to do. Take us back to, you know, kind of leading up to getting the gig of being able to compose for River City Girls, and then just that expansion of it, you know, DLC, sequel, all that.
Yeah, so I always call this one my networking miracle because that's what it was.
Yes.
I was part of a group of video game soundtrack and music enthusiasts, arrangers, cover artists, people like that in the video game space, called the Materia Collective. I think they
Mhm.
are still around, but just maybe operating at a slightly different level. Uh, and one of the other members was Dale North, who is a very prolific, amazing composer in his own right. He just so happened to be part of this group as well as me. We didn't really know each other, but he had been friends with and had worked with Way Forward for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So when one of the River City Girls directors, Adam, was talking with Dale, he was like, "Hey, we're working on this new project. We need someone who's really, in the sort of synth pop, electro pop realm. Do you know anybody who might be a good fit?" And unbeknownst to me, Dale recommended me to Way Forward. And they reached out after hearing some samples of my work, and it was just the perfect match. I owe Dale an infinite amount of gratitude for him putting me in their brains, basically, because it was just meant to happen, I think. And yeah, I didn't know at the time just how big in scope, like the amount of work that I would need to be doing for this project, and the fact that it just had this huge visibility.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard of River City Ransom, like I kind of knew that existed beforehand, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize just how big this game and then subsequently the sequels would be. So it was a dream come true, honestly, to work on that.
I mean, what a fun project. Number one, River City Ransom is an absolute classic. I remember playing that as a kid, so like the fact that it has expanded so much from that point already has my heart. I was always a huge fan of that, but again, this is another one where you know when it comes to a project like this, and I know that they're saying they're looking for a specific sound sometimes, or at least like within a genre. Do you find yourself ever, or do you have the ability, I should say, to kind of experiment a little bit with that and with the genre?
Yeah, yeah, especially on River City Girls 2. It was slightly different in that Bannon, the director on that one, really wanted me to, like, within the overarching synth pop umbrella, to also
Hmm.
then kind of go in to really more specific microgenres, which was super, super fun and a challenge to keep everything cohesive, because not only did it have to sort of fit the River City music universe,
Yeah.
but I had to do like hard techno. I had to do what's it called? Electro swing, like big band jazz meets.
Hmm.
He gave me like a Cowboy Bebop reference, which is like a full ass orchestra. So like super jazz influenced. There was one track that had to be very Latin flavored, and it's got mariachi shouts in there. Like it's a wacky soundtrack, and again, I had so much fun with it. So yeah, there is definitely some flexibility.
I was gonna say, I was like, just because, yeah, listening to the soundtrack, there it is. It really, it's a lot. It covers a lot of different genres. He's like, oh yeah, it's like got a little bit jazz feel to it, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the horns. It's like, oh, okay, I like that Latin flavor. It's like, but again, this is something that I think it's important too for folks to what you said here is keeping it cohesive. So
Yeah.
within those respects, and just kind of going from one to two, what does that look like exactly? How do you keep something like that cohesive that both marries the game, the environment, along with the story that you guys are telling?
I think for me, sonically, the simplest route was to keep a lot of the instrumentation core elements very similar. So I would use the same 3 or 4 drum kits on the entire 2 soundtrack series.
Mm.
Just like that core element, using the same virtual synths that I used on the first one to carry over into the second one. That helped a lot. Tempo, just basically instrument choices. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's kind of a hard thing to define,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
keeping, like I said, those core elements as running from soundtrack 1 to soundtrack 2 really did help.
Yeah, no, that would definitely keep things cohesive, and there's that familiarity to it that's always kind of in the background, kind of, but like it's lingering in there throughout the series, which is huge. Uh, I do have to talk about, because these games were apps. I remember when they were announced. Halloween and Ash versus Evil Dead, the pixel art games. Those things are freaking amazing. A ton of fun. What was your experience working on those? Again, these are cult classics that people are very familiar with. So you kind of got a base to work with. What was the experience like for you?
I mean, I'm a huge horror fan, so getting to work on those was again a really really cool thing. Way Forward, like Atari, is fantastic in that they hire me for me. So
Mm-hmm.
just within the general guidelines of like keep it, kind of spooky, but also fun and upbeat. Probably, synthy because it's sort of 80s, Halloween being late 70s, of course, and then Ash versus Evil Dead, more modern, but obviously based on the Evil Dead franchise, which is also 80s. So 80s adjacent.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, they kind of just gave me free reign within those guidelines. Like, here's some art, here's some gameplay. It's sort of pixely, like a lot of our games, being Way Forward's games. So yeah, that determined instrument choice and tempo obviously is upbeat. These are side scrolly and beat 'em up style things, so you got to
Yeah.
keep the energy high. But obviously the horror element too. So melodic choices to make things creepier, a little more dissonant maybe, a little less melodic. Although I do just love writing melodies. That is my favorite thing in the world.
Ah.
So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I was gonna say it's funny that you say that, because I feel like that's something that's really unique about you. You're not only creating and composing, but you're also out there singing as well. You know, what is it? I guess I imagine I'm only guessing. Is it almost like wearing two different hats? Like, what is that experience like where you're composing a piece, but you're also singing on that track? What is that process like?
Well, it's not, they're not super far removed from one another,
Hmm.
especially if I'm doing the entire thing.
Hmm.
So when I sit down to produce a track, if I know from the beginning that it's going to be a vocal piece, then that kind of informs how I structure the track, how
Hmm.
much space I leave for a vocal. Usually, once I get a beat, basically the drums, and a bass line going,
Hmm.
vocal melodies will come to me, and I'll just sort of lay down a scratch take of the melodies and then from there, around that scratch take, I will build out the track so that the vocals have room to breathe, the synths have room to breathe, everything is working instead of just like a whole mush.
Right, right.
But yeah, I also love just being basically a session vocalist for other producers. That's super fun. I find that oftentimes when I collaborate with people, we will each do something the other person didn't ever think to do. So that's what makes
Yeah.
collaboration really fun. Yeah. So likewise, like I love hiring vocalists to sing on my productions because
Hmm.
again, like they'll come up with melodies that I necessarily wouldn't have. So
Right.
yeah, it's all just one big process.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of collaborating with people too, is the fact that, maybe they give you ideas or inspiration for something that you didn't even think about, and then likewise, and vice versa. The creations that people come up with are can be absolutely amazing, and just looking at some of your collaborations, like with Alex and other folks, like, I guess when it comes to, all right, let's work on something together. Let's create something together. What is it like getting together, or are you guys doing that like online, or do you guys like physically get together in a space and just like sit down and like, yo, let's bang this out?
I have, to my knowledge, yeah, to my recollection, I don't think I've ever actually sat in a physical space with somebody to work on something.
Oh,
It's all online. It's all virtual. It's all just kind of sharing ideas via, text or some sort of text-based chat, and then sending files back and forth. So
okay. And
all
you guys
virtual.
just, yeah. So like, so what does that look like? Is there somebody, I'm guessing, well, I shouldn't guess. There, so when it comes to actually putting the tracks together, then, is that then you guys just send the files off to somebody else if you're not working on it yourselves, or to have them like mix it down and like put everything together, or what does that look like, I guess? That seems like I figured I don't know why I never, especially in this day and age where, with the internet and accessibility being at an all-time high, it makes sense that a lot of work is done online.
Yeah, almost exclusively for me. I've only really worked with somebody local to Seattle. I even didn't even like work with him in person. We met in
Hmm.
person, but then we each went to our own respective places to focus and do our thing.
Yeah.
So that's the one tiny exception, and we weren't even creating at the same time in the same location. So how it usually works is take my multi collaborations with my buddy Alex.
Hmm.
Um, I will either reach out to him or he will either reach out to me, depending on if I have a track that I want him to kind of take and massage and work his secret sauce on, or vice versa. If he's got a track that he wants vocals on or extra
Hmm.
production, then he'll send it to me. And then we get to just kind of work out like who's doing here this. Do you like these vocal melodies? And if it's kind of more his baby, I'll let him mix it. And if it was my conception, then I'll mix it. And yeah, we just kind of decide from the get go who's going to do what.
No, that totally makes sense. And do you like kind of going back to the video games and film and stuff like that? Do you find that there's any kind of differences, when you're composing for one or the other, or is it really more so kind of project based or more specific to the project?
The main difference between the two, technically speaking, is that a film is very linear.
Mm-hmm.
So the music will start and the music will end at a certain point in the story. Whereas a game, you don't know how long, unless it's a cutscene, you don't know how
Mm-hmm.
long a level area track is going to play, right? This
Mm-hmm.
person who's playing the game and experiencing it could be with this one piece of music for an hour
Mm-hmm.
instead of, the 3 minute section that will then loop. So it's just more of a consideration when starting to produce for a game score that you don't know how long somebody's going to be hearing this piece of music. So the loop point has to be real seamless, and that's a whole technical thing, but also
Yeah.
just the fact that you don't want them to get fatigued by it. So
Right.
that's more of an arrangement and a flow and a headspace consideration.
Yeah, that's crazy. 'Cause I didn't even think about that. There would have to be because you don't have there's not a determined time.
Mhm.
There's got to be at least some sort of clean looping point so it could keep going, or maybe it's a different area or whatever. However it plays out, but yeah, those are things that I never really considered where film and that medium has a specific start time to an end time. I know exactly what that runtime is going to be. In video games it's like, well,
Yeah,
kind of,
sky's the limit.
yeah, exactly. So, oh, that's interesting. I like that. That's I just, yeah, I never really thought about that being something that, and again, it's somebody that's on the outside trying to look in. It's some of the stuff it's hard for me to like I enjoy it. I just don't know how it gets done. From what is that process like to build what I'm hearing and enjoying, to, hey, I got this project here. What are you thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's got their own process too. This is just my personal experience.
Yeah. And is there anything like a part of that, like before you sit down to start creating, is there any kind of like rituals or anything that you have that you do to kind of get you in that mind space?
I not really. I just go to my desk over there and pull up references. If the client's giving me references, I listen to things and I analyze them and look at any art direction, descriptions, just kind of go from there.
Yeah, and well, and too, you have a lot of music that's been licensed, for TV shows, for a number of different things. Is that's music that you've created, not for something specific? They just like, what does that, how does one go about and say, you know what, I love Megan, love the sound, how do I go and take a look at her collection if I want to license something for a project that I have?
Yeah, so it's both. I have created music specifically for kind of sonic collections. So, for example, I worked on a trailer album, specifically very like hard, edgy, dark horror sci-fi
Hmm.
for a company called Position Music, and that's kind of how they work. And a lot of these production music places, this is how they work: is that they will commission an album of um, with a theme and a genre,
Hmm.
either from one producer or from multiple producers, to then sort of pitch to any sort of briefs that they get. Or, trailer houses will be like, hey, we're looking for stuff in this realm. Do you have anything? And they can just hand over the album and say, hey, take a look through these things. So I have done music specifically for licensing in that
Hmm.
respect. But yeah, other times I will, like you say, somebody will just kind of come across a piece of music and say, hey, I want this in my project. What do I have to do? And then I have my own just sort of personal licensing fees, and we sign a thing, and it's pretty simple. And there's also where I have in my inbox, I'll get like different companies that are requesting certain things, like, hey, does anybody have this type of track? And then I will
Hmm.
submit something if I have it. Or sometimes I will decide to jump on it and create something new just for that specific brief. So it's kind of the full spectrum of things.
Interesting. So if you don't have anything in mind and you're just sitting down like, look, I'm just gonna make something here. Is it
Yeah.
kind of like do you just kind of reach in and go off of your experiences, what you're going through, what the mood is, what kind of drives you when you are creating a new piece of music?
If it's just for my personal enjoyment and the enjoyment of my fans who just want to listen to my work, then usually I have a spreadsheet with different tabs of different sort of thematic or genre elements that I like, and I
Hmm.
will have a running list of other pieces of music that have inspired me, where it's like, oh, I really like this bass sound from this one track. I'm going to stick that on my spreadsheet. Oh, I really love this vocal melody and how they're jumping from here to here. Stick that on a different spreadsheet. Maybe it's a different genre. And then when I go to produce something of my own, I'll either pull from a spreadsheet for inspiration and go back and
Hmm.
listen to a track that I had put there and like, oh yeah, that bass thing, I'm really digging that. Let's start with a similar bass. Or sometimes I'll just pop open a synth that I really like working with, flip through some presets, and every once in a while one will just jump out at me and I'll just start
Hmm.
producing with that sound and see where it goes.
I love that. It is that kind of blank canvas. Let me see a little bit here, and then all of a sudden it just turns into something. It's
Yeah.
amazing how that comes together too. And like not only that, but like I mean you're creating music, you're singing, you're in music videos. You've worked on like podcasts and stuff like that as well. You know, what is it that I guess, and of course it's a lot of it is, you know, music driven and music based. Is it just you that likes to do all kinds of things? Because I
Yes.
feel like, yeah, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of times, you're like, oh yeah, I do this or I do that, and I feel like Megan, you're like a Swiss Army knife of music here. There's just so much depth, and not only that, but I mean I haven't even touched on like some of the covers that you've done and stuff like that too. I'm a huge fan of like covers of songs. I feel like a lot of times the covers end up, in just my own personal opinion, better than sometimes than the original. So I'm really into listening to covers and stuff like that too. But yeah, is that just experience? Is that just, you know, just going and being like, hey, somebody is presenting me an opportunity. Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about, or let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. I love doing anything music or audio related, basically.
Hmm.
Part of that, of course, was kind of seeing what would stick, essentially,
Hmm.
because I tried a bunch of different things in similar realms in my career to basically see what was gonna come to fruition for me.
Right.
Because when I first graduated, I was like hitting hard on film soundtracks, and it was very slow going. I wasn't getting as many gigs as I wanted. Like it didn't feel like it was quite happening.
Hmm.
Which is when I kind of pivoted to video games, which is something I wanted to do as well. But I can only do so much at once. So I had started with film focus and then moved to video games. And that's just what kind of took off for me. So that is where I then put my energy.
Hmm.
Um, Again, like tried the trailer thing. I'm still doing some of the licensing stuff, but yeah, it's better.
Hmm.
Which is again why I put so much time and effort into games, is because it started to work and I was like, okay, well then that's where I'm going to focus most of my energy. But yeah, in essence though, I do just really love to do a bunch of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see that. What?
I'm a very busy person.
I know, but busy is a good thing. Busy is a good thing. So let me ask, we're into 2026 here. I don't know. I don't know if there's any projects or anything that you're working on that you're able to speak about or speak on. If so, is there anything that you have planned? What are you excited for 2026?
I am continuing to work on Streets of Rogue 2. The first
Yes.
game was a big indie smash, and this one hopefully will be the same. It's
Yes.
been in the works for a while now. I've been kind of chipping away at it alongside Matt Dabrowski, who is, whew, solo developer. I don't know how he's doing it, especially with two kids. It's wild to me that he has time for any of that, but he's cranking along, and yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that the game will get some sort of update this year. But yeah, that's been a fantastic project. He's super easy to work with, one of the best clients. That's kind of like once we settled on a direction, he was like, okay, go.
Yeah.
That's the best. And yeah, so that's been a real joy to work on. I'm still working on that.
Hmm.
And potentially the biggest news of 2026 is that a few weeks ago, I want to say it was end of November, maybe early December, randomly, a band that I have been a fan of since, I don't know, 2016, 2017, reached out to me because they, this is so crazy. My mind is still blown. I'm freaking out about it. Uh, they're, I'll tell you the band in case anybody wants to come. And you should. Anybody who
You
sees this
should.
who wants to come, please do. Dance with the Dead. They're a really cool
Oh.
synthwave rock band. Synth metal. I don't know what to call them. They're like a haunted house dance party with electric guitars. They are co-headlining a tour with Magic Sword, another very cool synth band, and their opener had to drop out. And so they
Oh.
randomly reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to open for our US tour in the spring? It would be 41 shows across the entire country." And I was
Oh.
like, "Excuse me?"
That's
So
huge.
I had to say yes and then figure out how.
Yeah. You say yes first and then you figure it out later.
Yep. Yep. So right now I'm in the process of figuring it out, and I am so nervous and so excited. But yes, I will be playing 41 shows in 2 months, starting at the beginning of April and ending at the end of May.
Yo, that is it gonna be international or is it gonna be like here in the States?
It's just the states, but
Okay.
it's all around. It's yeah, I don't know how many states exactly, but it's 41 shows. So yeah, roughly 35 states.
Oh, do you guys come out to Vegas?
Surprisingly not. The closest
No
would be
way.
LA. I know. I'm very I'm very surprised by this. Yeah, there are a few places that we skip, Vegas being one of them. I don't know why.
Interesting. Well, I know too. There's all kinds of other things that go into it, venues and stuff like that. So it may not
Things,
always work out. Yeah. That's awesome though. Congratulations. That's absolutely
thank
huge.
you.
And the fact you get to open up for a band that you already love. Are you kidding me?
I know, it's wild. Yeah. I was probably
That-
wearing one of their shirts when they messaged me. Who knows? I
like,
don't
hmm?
remember. But yeah, I have been a fan of theirs. I'd seen them a couple times. Uh, and so just the fact that they reached out, I was like, holy crap, you know who I am? This is wild.
That is awesome. Do you know are tickets on sale or is there anywhere that we can point people to go
Yes,
to?
yes, they are. I don't know if anybody here follows me on Instagram, but I have it linked in my Instagram bio. I should have it. Well, I can also give you a link to give to people if there is like a show notes link that we can put it.
Yeah, there totally is. If you just want to send it to me in an email or something like that, so I can make sure I get that in the description and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That's gonna be awesome. You guys are lucky if Megan and are coming to your guys' city because that sounds like it's gonna be a dope show.
Yes.
Megan, I've got to ask before we head out here. If you had the opportunity to collaborate with anybody, past or present, who would it be and what would you guys create?
Oh man, past or present. That really opens it up.
Yes.
Present is hard enough, but past and present? Oh man. Uh well, if I oh hmm I think it would be super cool if John Carpenter came back to
Mm.
direct some new trippy, like super, super cool horror film and asked me to do the soundtrack with some original vocal songs.
Yo, that would be amazing.
That would be ace.
Yes. No, that is I'm like envisioning it now. It would be amazing. I love it. Megan, again, I don't want to take up too much of your time here. Please let the people know where can they go and find your stuff at, where you at on the socials, all that good thing.
I am everywhere. If you look me up, you will find me, but my preferred platforms are Instagram, where I am Meg McDuffie, YouTube, Megan McDuffie, Bandcamp, and Spotify, also Megan McDuffie. But I will also give Ryan a link to all the various things as like a little aggregate for you. So please check out some of my tunes. There's more coming. I am trying to release and have successfully done so for the past year and a half. Every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm putting something out. So yeah, lots of tunes
That's
for you.
that's amazing. Well, not only that too, but you have you keep up pretty well with your YouTube channel as well. So if you want to go see behind the scenes things, the music videos, listen to soundtracks, that's another great place to go. And I just want to throw up real quickly so the folks can see it as well. Another great source, probably the best source, Megan's website. Go to it. It's got all the links to everything that you could possibly need, Megan. So Megan, again, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us here at Pixelated Harmony. Again, you can go find us, or you can hit me up on the socials at Smitty2447. Again, I hope you guys had an amazing holiday, new year. Let's kick 2026's butt, and we'll see you in the next episode.